Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me for my Try It Out Tuesday. Today we're trying out a stamp set from Mama Elephant. It's this gorgeous poppy flower stamp set, and I love the sentiment in here. It says you are wonderful just the way you are, but it's kind of a build your own poppy flower stamp set, and I thought it would be fun to create a just because card. You know, this could also be great for a Mother's Day card too. So we're going to do some stamping. We are going to take some Neenah 80-pound cardstock, and for today's stamping we're going to use VersaFine ONYX black ink. Later on we're going to go over it with some clear embossing powder. So this is a real sticky ink that stays sticky for a while. This way I can add my clear embossing powder and it'll stick right to it. But I took one of the floral images here, stamped it, and then we're going to take the stem, and there's a little curve at the very top, and I didn't want to slant it because I needed another extra room on my panel here for another flower. So I just flipped it around so that little curvy end is on the very bottom. I'm going to take one more flower in here. We'll stamp that right next to this one. Super pretty. I love poppies. I think they're gorgeous. I think their long skinny stems are just amazes me how the weight of a flower could be on a really skinny stem. But anyway, I'm going to stamp the same flower one more time on a different piece of cardstock. We'll go ahead and add the stem, and then we're going to take two of the leaves in the stamp set, the largest, and we're going to add a few leaves to our stems, and they line up pretty easily. A few of the leaves that I'm stamping I actually covered up later on, but there's just a little hint of green peeking out, and I didn't mind that. Okay, this is the medium leaf. We're going to add a few here and there. And I think that's going to look great. Okay, next we're going to take some clear embossing powder and go over our images. And then I did use my heat gun to melt that embossing powder. This is going to give me some real shiny lines and keep that black ink very vivid. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit and we're going to do some Copic coloring. Now I did leave the caps out for you guys, and I left the colors up in the left-hand corner. But I hope everybody had a fantastic Easter holiday. I took a few days off of work and spent it with my family, and I have to tell you it was so nice. Nice and relaxing holiday. I hope you all had a great Easter holiday as well. But I'm back on Monday. Was a little tough for me getting back in the groove of things over at work, but got through it, and we're making a fun card today. But I'm going to play some music while I color, and I do want to let you guys know too that I'm not a coloring expert whatsoever. I mean, I have no clue on where to shade. I just color the way I think it looks the prettiest, so keep that in mind while I color. I just color. I'm self-taught, so my shading is probably a little bit off, but I think it turned out okay. Here's the music, and I'll catch you back as soon as I'm done coloring. Okay, coloring's done, and I used my white gel pen to clean up my outside the lines little mishaps, and I think they turned out so pretty. I just love the flowers. I think they're gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors and just fussy cut around each one of my flowers, and then when we have this done, we are going to set those aside. Now for my background, you know, I always try to do something a little bit different. So I have a wood grain stamp, and I've had this in my stash for a very long time. Any kind of wood grain stamp or background stamp that you have would work out fantastic. But I'm going over it with my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'm going to stamp this on some white cardstock. And I chose black because the center of the flowers were black, and my husband right now is mowing the lawn and he just went right by, so I'm sorry if you hear the lawnmower guy. We're expecting some rain, so he's out there. This is actually the first cut of spring, so he's held out as long as he could, but he's out there mowing the lawn. Okay, anyway, I treated my paper with my anti-static powder tool, and next I'm using this background stamp I've had in my stash for a while. It has swirlies on it, and if I can find the stamps, guys, I'll link them down below. But I just inked it up with my watermark ink, and then now I'm taking my white embossing powder and going over my entire background. So I have two backgrounds on this panel, but I wanted to soften it with the swirls, and I thought it turned out super neat. So peeking out behind the swirls is that wood grain. Something a little bit different, but you could do this with any two background stamps that you have. I think it'd be a nice way to create a background. Okay, I used the stitched rectangle die and cut out my panel here. After we have this done, we're going to stamp our sentiment. My sentiment, I'm using the same VersaFine ONYX black ink. I'm going to stamp it and then go over it with some clear embossing powder. Just tap off the excess and then use my heat gun, and we'll go ahead and melt that. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors and separate each one of these sentiments. You could probably cut around it and it'd create the same effect, but I wanted my sentiments to be a little bit wonky, so that's why I separated them. Okay, I decided to matte my background on a piece of black cardstock, so there's a little bit peeking out behind my panel here. We'll just adhere our background here. Okay, now we're going to flip over our little poppies, and I'm going to add some dimensional adhesive behind them. We're going to give our flowers a little bit of dimension. And I didn't add any adhesive to the stems. I just basically wanted the flowers to be lifted up. We'll add one overlapping our background just a little bit. Then we'll add our second flower. And you can see here is where I kind of covered up the leaves. But I think the colors that I used were on a corally side, and I think against that black and white background it just turned out so pretty. And I needed to add one more piece of foam tape just so it lifts up a little bit. Okay, before we adhere our sentiment, we're going to flip this panel over. I'm going to take a piece of fun foam, and just using some glue, I'll attach that to the back of my panel. And then we'll place this on an A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch top folding white card base. Just add a little bit of glue, kind of center it, and then we have our little stem that's overhanging on the very bottom. We'll just take our scissors and just trim that off. Okay, we'll flip over our sentiment and add some foam tape behind here. And here I'm going to place them a little bit wonky. Just removing the release paper off of the foam tape, and I'm going to scoot them up just a little bit more. But I think that bold black against the colorful flowers really makes the flowers stand out. Since my background was a little bit on the busier side, I didn't want to do too much else to my card today, but I do want to bring in some Nuvo Simply White crystal drops and just dot the center of my flowers. I think the little polka dot centers kind of really coordinate with the background. But that's my card for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you a very lovely day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.